Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite Chief Warrant Officer, Pacho Correa. Today we have a really outstanding show, but before we get started, I got to get started with that. I got to commence with that little bit of a disclaimer. Just want to say that our thoughts and opinions here at the Field Op are not the thoughts, sometimes may not be the thoughts and opinions of Sitch Radio, Airtable, and everybody else who supports this great show. This is freedom of speech, and, we support the Second Amendment. That's what I, served for 21 years in the Marine Corps, fighting for our constitutional rights. So with that being said, if there's something that you don't like, you also have the right to just, seek, go to another podcast or listen to someone else. But if you like what you hear, then stick around because it's going to be a great show. Today we have an awesome guest. He's a personal friend of mine. He's a brother from another mother. We served together at one of our units, but he also has a very great special story to tell. And it's just going to be a really great show. This is Jorge Vientos, former Gunnery Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. Let's bring him into the fold and let's get this bad boy started. What's going on, Mr. Vientos?
Hey, what's going on, Pacho? Man, it's been a while.
I know. Dude, how long have we known each other, bro?
So we first met when I went to 4th LAR, and that was around 2001 or 2002. Yeah. I think it was 2001, and you were part of the I&I staff, and I was coming from Motor Transport Maintenance Battalion in Las Pulgas, just up the road.
That's right. That. And by the way, I ended up in your old stumping grounds. Once I pinned on Warrant Officer, that was I think my second unit. I ended up being a part of the first platoon OIC, bro. But it's good times. I remember some of the crazy shit we used to do. When we were in 4th LAR, because we were bored. I mean, if it's just when you're on independent, inspector instructor duty, it's just you and the rest of your staff mates, and until the reservists get on deck. That it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Hey, I remember the first time we went out there. Out there we were on the backside of the Reaper, the mountain, right, for all the new school Marines. And I said, hey man, when we gonna go run that? And you're like, dog, I'm like a diesel engine. I don't have speed, but I can just keep on trucking. And we ran up the hill. Well, I tell you what, it brings a lot of memories. Just thinking about little things like that. It's awesome, dude. No,
I can tell you this, you're not a skinny guy. And when I say that, it's just that, I mean, you're well built, but man, can you freaking run like a goddamn gazelle, man. I loved you, but I hated you for that shit too, man. Because I was like, man, how can this guy move so quick, man? And he used to run up them damn hills like nothing. But yeah, man, I'm like an old diesel, bro. I was like chugging along. Fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah. We made some good friends out there. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. And we used to we had some good times too. I mean, just like the time, you want to tell the story of when I had my Hummer bicycle?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were everybody was getting mountain bikes and doing mountain bike riding for our lunch. And we were privileged, man. Obviously, we had some really good leaders in the Marine Corps too. And they would allow us to PT and maybe take a little bit of extra time when we would go and train. And you found that come in and you're like, dog, I got I found me a Hummer. It's a what's Sharper Image bicycle. It's full suspension, this and that and the other. I said, all right, I bet you won't jump it off the wash rack. And next thing we know, it was Sergeant Francisco Correa had a meniscus broken and hospital trip. God bless. You're like, oh, I wasn't going fast enough. I'll do it again. You landed the second one. I'll give you credit. You landed the second one.
Yo, I remember that I was when because I landed wrong the first time and I slipped right off the seat and I ended in the middle bar and I was on the ground like a fish out of water, like because my nuts hit the bar and I lost all my air. And then the only thing I could scream out after was, I think what was it? I think I like crushed my nuts because I couldn't feel them. But you're right. I did land that goddamn second jump. I landed that shit like a champ.
Oh man.
It's stories like that, and the whole premise of this, this podcast, dude, is, remembering those good times. But just like I had, another friend of mine, we went into a buddy program on the previous show last week. It's things like that, yeah, college is great, and not to knock down anybody that went to college, joined a fraternity and things and that sort of thing. But, it's stories like this that we just live on, with brothers and sisters, people like yourself that, we serve together, and we, look at us now. I mean, it's still almost 20 years later, we're still friends. We're still engaged, and we're still reminiscing on good times like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you also have a very interesting story. We talked about the good times, but you've had your set of challenges. You kind of fit that category of a very large percentage of the veteran population that post-service. You had a lot of struggles. Can you share some of that with us, please?
Yeah, when I first joined the Marine Corps, I did it one because I didn't want to go to school anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to, like, I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I just don't like school. Just like you said you were going to be a teacher and you were going to get your liberal arts degree when we were in the Marine Corps, right? So I
did finish that shit though, but I didn't become a teacher.
Oh yeah. So I didn't want to go to college because I thought to myself, I'm like, really, if you're not gonna commit to it, then you're gonna waste your time. And I again, I didn't like school too much. I had good grades. My mom was a teacher, my grandma's a teacher, my brother's a teacher, my sister's a teacher, and it was enough schooling for me. So I decided to join the Marine Corps. And I always told my parents that, you know what, it would be until it's no longer fun for me. So I didn't know if it was going to be 4 years, if it was going to be 20 years or a lifetime or whatever, right? So when it became to a point that it was no longer fun and I was trying to balance out too many plates in my life, personal, marriage, Marine Corps career, what did I want to do? Then I got out of the Marine Corps. And but
I'm sorry.
when it all comes down to it, I can only say good things about the Marine Corps itself. I don't have nothing bad to say about the Marine Corps or the people in it. It was just no longer my time. Hey, Frank, did I lose you?
Can you hear me?
Frank.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Frank.
I
I don't
think
see
Jorge
you.
is having it.
I
Jorge
can't
is
hear
having a
you
little bit
either.
of. Jorge is having a little bit of um, technical difficulties. Are you having technical difficulties, brother?
Hey, Frank.
Yeah, I think he's having a little bit of technical difficulties. But Jorge has a very interesting story that, in the sense that he had a set of hardships just like we all do, and you know, But the great thing about, I guess, that fighting spirit of as a service member also is that, we're taught from the beginning, never give up, never give in, always keep fighting, keep moving forward. I think that spirit, that was one of the things that he was able to, he reached into his toolbox and of his resources, and he was able to go ahead and move forward and say, hey, I'm not going to give up. Yes, these things are happening to me, but nonetheless, uh, he's been able to make it happen. Welcome back, my friend. I was just
Good,
kind of
good
filling
Lord,
in.
man. Yeah.
I
Hey,
was filling
now I
in the
live in a
gaps.
small town, and signal here it's probably not the greatest.
It's okay. So what I was telling the viewers is that you had your set of hardships and post service, but that fighting spirit that the majority of us that is instilled within us. Never give up, never give in, keep moving forward. That was one of the things that, excuse me, was it where you were able to draw from that toolbox, and you were able to overcome your challenges. So, but go ahead and you know go ahead and expand on that for us a little bit more. Yeah, I I think you may still be having technical issues, but so as I was saying, Jorge was able to overcome the his hardships, and because at one point, some of the things that he was struggling with, yes, like a lot of us, we go back home, we think that things are gonna play out a certain way. We have this awesome plan in regards to how we're gonna make things happen. However, 9 times out of 10, the things don't pan out that way. One thing that that we were told in the Marine Corps is never fall in love with your plan, because the plan can change in a moment's heartbeat. And Jorge had gone back home. He was trying to make things happen, and like a lot of us, he had a set of challenges that, to the point where you know he things weren't working out, and he had to leave home. And Jorge is originally born and raised from the island of Puerto Rico, and he was over there trying to make things happen, but those things weren't that wasn't the case. So because of that, the little bit of money that he had left in his pocket, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing the whole story, his whole story that he was telling me, was because uh, the little bit of money that he had, he put it in his pocket, and then he moved back to the U.S. Are you there?
Yeah, buddy. I apologize.
No, 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 don't apologize. I was just expanding a little bit on your story that you had gone back home to the island, Puerto Rico.
Yep.
And you had this plan that you were going to do, but like we all know, sometimes those plans fail, and as what we're telling the Marine Corps, never fall in love with your plan, because things are gonna can't change. So if you want to go ahead and take over from this point on, go ahead.
Yeah. So I got out of the Marine Corps. I tried to save my last marriage. It didn't work out. Lost marriage and the career all at once, pretty much. And then, just like you said, I ended up back in Puerto Rico. first I got baptized and I got saved. Then I went and moved to Puerto Rico. I really felt like the Lord was telling me to go back home. My grandma, I moved to Puerto Rico. My grandma got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I had lost my grandfather to cancer a year prior. My grandma got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My uncle, it's hospitalized. We don't think he's going to make it. He didn't make it out of there. And I mean, my life was, I would say, was spiraling out of control, man. And I mean, you know me from the Marine Corps, so you know I never had like a extravagant spending. If the money wasn't there, I wouldn't spend it.
Right.
I was always conservative, always planning for the what ifs, the uncertainties, et cetera, et cetera. And man, God needed to rebuild me, kind of like they do in the Marine Corps when you show up to boot camp, right? They shave you up and they take your identity away. So that's exactly what happened. I wouldn't say that I was living a frugal life in California, but you know, you very well know that if you're not making $75,000 a year in California, you're poverty, right? So I was making ends meet, and I had a little bit of extra money set aside, and I could do whatever I kind of wanted. You know, if I wanted to go skydiving, I went skydiving. If I wanted to go to a Final Night San Diego Dress to Impress show, and I invited a friend, I didn't ask him if he had the money. I just told him, hey, do you want to go? And I'll pay your way. So I wouldn't say money ruled me, but I was disrespectful also towards the money. And yeah, the Lord said, you're going back home. Take care of the family, rely on people. I tried to invest money with my dad and the business, the family business, and that didn't pan out. Went a different route and tried a Mexican restaurant, authentic Mexican restaurant. That didn't pan out. Where it was doing, but Chili's opened up, and out the window, my little restaurant went. What else? Then hard times really fell. Man, I couldn't make, you know, I graduated with out of the University of Phoenix with a bachelor's in business administration. And I got a job working at the docks. I'm not going to mention the company. I did a 6-week project for them and saved them $120,000 on equipment. And 2 days later, I was fired, and they consolidated my position with in Florida. That's where they're based out of, in Florida. So then I lost income, and man, the economy in Puerto Rico, just to explain a little bit, it's not the greatest. Back in the 90s, early 90s, the president, whoever was in charge here in the States, they negotiated some things just like they do with everybody else, right? You move over here, bring your people over here, and we'll give you some tax breaks and some opportunities, right? But when the tax breaks are over, then most companies, they want to be more profitable. They just uproot and move somewhere else, and that's, you know, the economy in Puerto Rico is really bad. So I was working at a bakery, and you know, I just couldn't make ends meet, and then ended up here in Kentucky with $35 in my checking account and $300 in my pocket, and I needed to buy a vehicle because I showed up on a Friday. I got to Kentucky on a Friday, and I was reporting to duty, right? Reporting to work on a Tuesday, which is the company that I currently work for. One-way ticket and 150 pounds of clothes. I didn't even have money to buy a return ticket. And then I thought it was good money, making 12 something or whatever it was I was making. And then single, you get taxed the most. And come to Jesus moment when your paycheck is, still barely able to make ends meet. you know, because as we know, life in the United States is expensive, man. You got to pay rent, renter's insurance, car insurance, your bills, cell phone,
Right.
blah 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 blah. So
Now, and
it was hard.
go ahead.
Yeah, man, it was hard. It was you needed to make sure that you knew when the next paycheck was, because you know there was not going to be $100, $200 left over at the end of the paycheck.
Now, you know, now you hit also, you happen to be homeless at one point as well.
So the person that I had moved in with, man, I had not been here for a month. It was within the first 30 days or so. He was doing something really bad, like impersonating a different persona, and yeah, he went to jail. So then, right off the rip, you know, I end up in my car for a couple of weeks, and no place to go, no family here in the States, but I kept on telling myself, dude, if I wake up the next morning, then God wasn't through with me. So I knew I could do something. And, you know, my dad taught me a skill that nobody else can teach, right? Which is hard work. And I polish cars and detail cars. So as long as I have a bucket, a couple of rags, and a machine, I can make a car shine. So I can always find work. I just needed to go and get after it. So, I mean, yeah, it was hard times, dude. But like I said, you know, I told myself, if you wake up the next day, then God giving you another opportunity. He's not through with you. He'll still polishing you, right? Everybody knows that diamonds are made under pressure. So,
damn, that's very powerful, man.
Man, I'm telling you, he was putting the pressure on me, and he was shining me up. And you know, I still got a long road ahead to go, but the polishing ain't over, if you know what I mean.
Right. No, I think it's just a great story of, you know, hard work and perseverance. Never giving up. You know, you and I lost touch for quite some time, and it just so happened that I was thinking about you, and because I had tried to find you, but you know, the last thing I remember is just you had that restaurant in Puerto Rico, and then then I went through my set of my set of, I guess, polishing and my pressures. I too went through a divorce. You and me had the same. We deployed the same, and we share almost the same experiences. I don't know, and again, because everybody's different, but for me, my PTSD was getting the best of me. I almost committed suicide at one point. Went through a divorce just like you. All these things. I mean, I wasn't. Thank God I wasn't homeless, but we, for some reason, one day I was just thinking about you, and I was Googling you. This is how good and bad technology can be, and that's how I found you. And we reached out, and here we are, connected once again. But I think you're a great example of, never, staying focused and, and allowing, I guess, whatever challenges come, and say, hey, you know what, whatever the plan is for me, I'm just going to accept it and move forward, man. And I think you've embodied that. How has the, our past experiences as far as like PTSD related and the things that we faced while we were in deployments, did that come also, present its own set of challenges while you were going through all this?
You know what? Now that you mentioned that, I want to say this, man. Anybody that's listening, Frank, has got to put in their head, and I know there's other services and other connections and stuff like that they can reach out to, but the one thing that I kept in my mind, besides what my dad had taught me, and hard work, because you know, let's face it, man. When your parents move you and your family out to the United States, you're an immigrant, right? And me
Yeah.
moving from Puerto Rico to Texas, I was an immigrant. You know, I'm a U.S. citizen by birth, but it's a law, right? You change the law, and I'm Joe Nobody. I need to apply for citizenship and everything else. So, you know, it's one law from like the 1800s that makes Puerto Ricans U.S. citizens. Will we ever be a state? I don't know, but again, you know, I feel like being not native to the United States, it gives you a different perspective of life, right? Because
Right.
you know, this is the place where you can have it all, but then it's not going to be handed to you, right? You have to go work
Right.
for it. And that's one thing that I bet your parents taught you and they taught me. But then when you go through boot camp, and even though we say, oh, the Crucible Marines this or the new generation this or whatever, I mean, you're part of the world's most elite fighting force. Just right off the rip, you know, the government, the U.S. government spends hundreds of thousands of dollars to train you to survive, to be a team player, to be a leader, to do, um, uh, you know, work in groups, work individually, think for yourself. They entrust. I mean, you know, the stock market, or not the stock market, but like, you know, all of these other huge companies, they don't entrust a 19-year-old kid with 3 other souls and tell them, hey, you're going to go to combat and you're responsible to bring these 3 other guys with you alive back home.
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you what, you know, when we deployed to Iraq with the reserves, and I don't want to take nothing away from the reserves, because they taught me a different meaning, right, of being a Marine in reserve status. And the difference between, right, being a reservist or weekend warrior and a Marine in reserve status is that, you know, we all made it, man. Like, that we went out there, we did the mission, we did what we had to do, and we come back. And what is the worst case scenario here in the United States that's gonna kick my behind? That's what I just kept on telling me. I'm like,
Wow.
dude, I'm seriously, I was like, you know, you've deployed, you went to Africa, to like the middle of nowhere, 108 degrees in Djibouti. What is here in the United States going to be worse than that? Whatever struggles you're going through daily here, it could be worse, because you could be in some village out in Fallujah, you can be some village out in Afghanistan or any other places, Turkey now, right? Ukraine, sorry. And you can be in a way worse shape than you are right now. So I just kept on telling me that, man. I was like, you know what? It could be worse. I you know, I know that I'm going to have a meal today, you know, but it could be worse. It could be us in Iraq not knowing when we're going to get beans, bullets, or Band-Aids again, because we're pushing and we end up in a different map. They gave us the wrong coordinates, or we're lost and we're looking for the needle in the haystack. So I just kept on reminding myself of those hard times, and then thinking, you know what? It ain't that bad over here. It ain't that bad over here. Just one foot in front of the other. Just like when you got your rucksack on and you got to do a 25 miler, you just put one foot in front of the other. Don't get too far out of reach, because it takes more to catch up than does to keep up. And man, I just kept on playing all of these scenarios in my head, and it helped me get through it. Just thinking about, man, the United States has spent $200,000 training me and instilling all of this.
More than that, bro.
Huh?
More than
Right?
that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the total amount is, but you know, I'm like, $200,000 on me. No Ivy League can teach me that. I'm more valuable, and I kept on telling myself that. And to this day, I still do. I'm like, I'm more valuable than this guy that's graduating from Harvard, because I've got the life experience and the training from the U.S. government and my parents. and to this day, man, I just keep on telling myself that. And now I got a little one too, right? I just became a father about 2 months ago.
Congratulations, by the way, man.
Yeah, thanks. And then I kind of think, I'm like, man, what is it that I want to pass on to my kid, right? What is it that I want him to be prepared for? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, right? But it's a complicated one. And I just, just because I want him to have it easier than me doesn't mean that I want him to disrespect money, earning money, people, trust, all these things that, I have failed myself, and I think we all will at one point or another. But just, I mean, you got to keep reminding yourself of what you've been through to kind of put things in perspective. At least for me, that's the way it worked. Just remember the hard times and then just be like, really, dude, I could be getting shot at right now, and then having to ask for permission to return fire. Really, that ain't the way the game is played, right? We need to follow all of these other rules and regulations, but we know the enemy is not doing that. So yeah, when I thought it was hard here, I would just be like, man, it's 90 degrees. It could be 140.
True.
Yeah. So,
now where you're at today, you're, not only, are you in a good position within your current company, but you also own, you own your own small business that you run. Could you just tell us a little bit about, what is the business and the name?
So, my family on my dad's side, because my mom's side, it's always been teachers. My grandma, my aunt, my mom, all teachers, right? On my dad's side, it was body work and paint correction, right? So collision repair and paint. And long story short, I learned how to detail cars from a different angle, right? Like most people know clear coat, paint, primer, filler, metal. I know it backwards. I know metal, Bondo, primer, paint, and clear coat, right? So when I got here, to Kentucky, I didn't want to intimidate anybody, right? Because I was the new guy, the new guy in town, and I didn't want to intimidate nobody. I always wanted to, one, lend a hand, and two, help another. So if you needed help and I knew how to do it, I will show you. If I was in a better position than you are, then I help you get to my position, right? And that's what makes us better people. That's how we can make a change. But I didn't want to start body work because one of my guys that's still working here for us, it's already in the collision repair business. So I said, all right. So then I worked at a farm while I was getting a little bit of money. Because, I mean, seriously, I had 150 pounds of clothes, Frank, and nothing else. So I had to buy the tools, the equipment, the products, et cetera, and, started working my way a little bit at a time, and I could see the growth. And then one job that I did turned into my number one best advertising. Nothing else has compared to it, because that one person, it's small town famous. That's a saying that I came up with out here. That guy is a DJ, and I did his Humvee, and that his Humvee led to a friend of his that has a body shop. And then I gave him my story, and then he's like, "Oh, you know what you're doing, so let me test you out." And then he brought me a vehicle, and then that led to so many other people. And now I operate a small business out of the garage in my house that I was lucky enough to purchase. We sacrificed, my wife and I, we sacrificed ourselves a good 5 years. We've been married 6, and we sacrificed for 5 years and put a little bit of money away and able to afford a down payment on the house, et cetera, et cetera. So now we got a 13-acre farm.
Nice.
Got a lake on it, a small pond. My mom calls it a lake, but it's a pond. But it's got fish in it, and so with that, I've got a 2-car garage, and I own and operate Black Diamond Detail. I gotta sign up here, and this is my office somewhere.
Does he have a webpage?
I don't. I have it on Facebook, and Facebook alone. I like the company that I work for. They gave me a good opportunity here. And, back to the story of Puerto Rico, right? When I interviewed, it was pretty much like this, man. It was on a Skype interview. And so the vice president now, which he wasn't the vice president then, he had my resume on hand. And he asked me, he said, any questions that you have? And I said, well, I understand that this is a privately owned business. It's on the 3rd generation of the family. So they've been around for quite a while. I said, I know the state minimum in Kentucky is $7.50 an hour, but I don't know if you're planning on starting me at $7.50 or anything higher. Well, because you're a private owned company. And then he said that that was a good question, but he said, I've got a question for you. When I look at your military background, right? And I look at, that was steady for like about 13 years. That's how much time I ended up spending in the Marine Corps and in California. Then he said, and then after that, you didn't last on a job for more than a year. What's going on? So then I told him, I said, man, if you knew the economy situation in Puerto Rico, then you would understand that it's difficult and it's hard. Not Walmart doesn't have full-time positions in Puerto Rico. It's all part-times. I said,
right.
So I was doing whatever I had to do if I had to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. But, enough burden burns a man down, and there's not enough hours in the day to make ends meet. So, it was time to go. So that's why I'm looking at different opportunities now. So he said he was hesitant to giving me an opportunity, right? Because I was job hopping. And I told him, I said, if you give me an opportunity, it'll be the last one, because I'm 30 something years old. I don't have very many other opportunities are going to be presented to me like this, where I can have a 401k and, paid time for vacation and stuff like that. So then, boom, here I am. And I gave him my word. And that's why I don't want to really grow too big. But I am at a point right now that I need to make that decision whether I stay part-time with it or go in full-time, because, the money is good either way.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do this, Jorge? That, because we're pretty much right there at the timeline. I'd like to bring you back and dive down into your story. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties along the way. But I'd like to, dive a little deeper into your story, so that way our viewers, those who are struggling out there, can get a different perspective and say, hey, this guy was at this point. Look at him now. He's managing a business, working for a great company, as well as he has his own side gig going on. How does that sound? Can we do that?
Yeah, let's plan for the future.
All right. Well, and I'll go ahead and, let everybody know. Black Diamond Detail, they're on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
As well as
the ones in Kentucky. And
okay.
The one that you can find us with is the one that's got a Carol Shelby. Well, here, I'll show you mine. Here's my, there's the logo right there. Black Diamond Detail. Right. And it's got a Carol Shelby saying that says cars were meant to be driven, not just look at when they're shiny. Because there's other people now that are copycat, people want to copycat everything. So.
All right. Jorge, thanks for your service, brother. And thanks for honoring us with your story and the show. We'll definitely bring you back, and we're going to dive down a little deeper, man.
Right on, man. Good deal.
All right. Semper Fi, brother.
Semper Fi.
Well, everybody, that was Jorge's story. The point that what I get from this story is that hard times are going to come, but also, at some point in time, they're going to go. So just keep on fighting, keep on moving forward, because we just don't want you to be part of that those 22 a day that commit suicide, because your life matters and you matter. So feel free to reach out if you ever struggle and need help, and we'll get to you and we'll get you the help that you need. But with that being said, folks, we're gonna go ahead and end this right here. And you know what? Get some. I am out of here, everybody. Arrah!